Next slide, please. So this is a lovely slide on how some real world examples of how we've helped our customers. Over to you guys, because you can bring these lovely examples to life.
Yeah, so the first one is a very famous UK-based business that we've been working with now for 3.5 years. And this was all around labour, actually, and efficiency within labour, and helping them to not only reduce costs, but improve efficiency. So that the £2 million saving in labour costs is across project management, business analysis, and those sort of functions. And actually, it's more than that number is shown to be. But it's a really great case study for us. It shows that we can compete, and I hesitate to talk about the big four, but we can compete in with large businesses in the UK and beyond, and show we can do things in a different way by bringing in a different perspective, and really matching requirements and driving through efficiency by matching those requirements fast. So that's what we did there.
Yeah, the second one on there, the multinational manufacturer who everybody would recognise if I was to name them. Of course, they went out to look at some cost benefits from looking at the licensing arrangements and so on. But as part of that, they blended in, the implications for if this particular provider of services and licensing for us, has a greater footprint within our organisation. So we get some cost benefit from that. What does that mean in terms of the way that we can reach and deliver services out into the whole of our global organisation? What are the kind of ethical implications of that? What are the investment implications of that? So they took a cost benefit and looked at it in the context of, what it would allow them to do in terms of flexibility, the buying power, how they could do that out in the areas, and they were very concerned about concerned. That's not the right word. They're very interested in understanding the implications of that going back into the organisation and how it worked with that particular provider. So it's again a great example of how they blended both what would be a traditional vending approach with actually, what are the implications for us, our overall ecosystem and the way we buy these services from both a governance and a social point of view as well.
Yeah, it's hugely successful, that piece. The third one is a very famous European airline who've always been very dynamic in the way that they operate, but were beginning to be caught up by other airlines in their area, and also suffer from solutions that were aging, etc. We work with them to move a lot of their services out of more traditional hosted environments into the cloud. Everybody's touched upon it, done it, etc. But this was a big lift and shift. But not only that, it was to look at how we could be much more operationally efficient. So by using sourcing models for that one, able to find better partners, niche partners, SMEs, to drive cost efficiency, but operational efficiency. And what that has now moved into, and I touched upon, is this observability piece, where they are doing everything in and around the customer. So they're bringing huge amount of data points together to identify how they could better be efficient, but be better efficient with their customers, both internal and external. So it's a great story, and the savings are huge within that organization.
And the last one, again, I mean, it was driven by, and when we go back to what we said at the very beginning about some of the takeaways, a lot of this starts off with a kind of looking at a cost implication, but how do I drive from that some impact on other programs, other things that I'm doing? John's talked about some of the kind of client experience or the customer experience side of things, but it also allows them to fund the way that they go about different change programs, the way that they provide those services back into their own organization, and how ultimately those end up reaching the end customer. And so, you know, this has driven a kind of complete change in their supply chain and the way that they think about those services being delivered, and in some cases the basis from which those services delivered, and then you get into the whole ethical provision of those services from those bases. Can we make sure that if we take services from a slightly different environment to the one that we've been used to doing, do they meet our own standards? Do they meet our own kind of ethical needs before we take those? So yes, cost is an implication of what they're doing, but also is that service going to be provided in an ethical and sustainable way? It's part of the thinking that went behind it.
Perfect.